So what is up, guys? Before we even start, I want to talk about the hardest thing that you got to do to get this right. The hardest thing is the simplest thing also, because this is all simple. What you want to do is pull out your control center, which should be inside of your main character's puppet. Whenever you press X for the first time, you want to make it to where the possession type is none. And then pretty much whenever it's done, whenever the whole animation's done, either turn it back on, possessing with forced possession, or remote controllable. You can also mess with this right here, disable controls. So you press X for the first time, there's something connected here, the on button, the on switch that turns on to where it disables the controls for the cutscene. You can also do this, as it says right there, you can also do that. At the end of the cutscene, what you want to do is make it to where all this switches back to where the player is playable. Turn this back off, and this is very important because this is the only way you can get it to where the timeline is restarted. At the end of the cutscene, within the timeline, you also want to make it to where this resets the count. You can use this with a keyframe by dragging it and then pressing record to where it resets it back to 0. That's very important. Very important. So after you've done all this, and this is how you get it to keep changes, just click this for whatever needs to be kept with the changes. After you've done all that, the first one you want this to pretty much just say press X with no audio inside of it. You want to put all the audio for the thing into text animating. So put that outside of the thing and then connect it whenever it needs to be into the power source of, the text animating. And just put press X. Now what you'll see is this right here. You'll need this on. And pretty much what you'll see is an X button right here. So how do you get rid of that since you can't take away the opacity? Just drag it off of the screen. It's really funny. It's really, really funny. Just put it somewhere off the screen and that should work because I can't see it anymore. And that's exactly what I did. It was hilarious. This right here is like my 5th time making tutorial. First time I did it, I just laughed, dude. Then after that, after you press X, you want to pull out a counter. Your counter progress should be put inside of that blue playhead thing right here. And the increase count should be put right here. Whatever button makes it go to the next thing. Now what you'll want to do, I'm going to go ahead and press X. I think I explained the trigger zones pretty much. You don't need the fall off zone, I put it there, but you want the trigger zone to be connected to your timeline, which is all of this, to where this only activates whenever and disables the controls whenever you're inside of the trigger zone and press X first. So you don't want it to disable the controls right away. You want to make it to where you have to press X in order for it to disable the controls. So put the keyframe that disables the controls along the point where the second text dialog starts, and then you can stretch that out by pressing up, or you can get it to where it keeps changes and pretty much stretch that out until the very end where the keyframe that switches it to where you can play with your character again turns on with the keep changes settings. So let's go ahead and try it. So I'm pressing X, but this right here is my playing as my main character. Gotta be in the trigger zone for it to light up. Now I can press X. So what you want to do, since you can't you can calculate, the distance between when it's going to start and when it's going to end. The reason it went up that far is because of the count target value versus the count progress. So since it's harder to sort of since it's harder to kind of determine that, you'll sort of have to stretch out your dialog box to kind of fit with it, if that makes sense. So since it's 11, it only went like that far. What you would have to do is decrease the size of however you want to decrease it by, and then make sure everything fits together. And then pretty much as you press X, you'll finish it all. And then the final one will pretty much make it to where the character can move again. You want to make it to where they can still press X, so you might want to make it to where there's either 2 control sensors and one activates whenever you press X for the first time, or you could just use that one control sensor, since if there's no possession type, I'm not sure if... Yeah, you might want to use this one. So you can see which one you have to use. I think both of those can be used for cutscenes. So just mess with it. You can use 2 control sensors. One that activates whenever you enter the trigger zone. Trigger zone puts the power on it. And pretty much that's the one you can press X with. That increases the count, I guess. Or maybe you don't even need control sensors for this right here, since it has its own little function of X. You might not even need it. And pretty much you can use labels or tags for your character. Just put the tag inside of your puppet microchip, or change the label by pressing L1 and square. Go to labels and change the label to whatever it needs to be detected. And then pretty much at the end, you want to get it to where it resets the count. So whenever the playhead is finished, you can like put a keyframe here at the very end, and then an on switch right here that resets the count. Sort of like this if you needed a visual representation. Keep it off. Make it to where that turns it on. Shouldn't need to keep changes. Or if that's too complicated, usually I kind of, so it's just too dang complicated, just do this with your keyframe. You might need to put it on keep changes, I'm not sure, but you also might need to reset it if it doesn't keep the changes. And keep changes right here. So this should be how you do it. Just put that at the very end. This should explain everything. Again, you might need to get it to where it resets it. And you can also mess with, you know, things within here. If there's extra text you want to put within your game, you can either make another timeline or make it to where the count gets increased by more than 1, so it skips over 1. But the gist of it is just to get this to reset somehow, so that's pretty much the hardest part, but I explained how you can do all that. And that's pretty much it. Here's how you get it to animate. Increase the animation speed. And all my settings, you can pause the video if you need to. And again, you can use an AND gate for this to make like story mode type stuff if you wanted to, and you could also come look at my selector video if you want to, because you can also use a selector to do this. You press X, then it moves it to the next port, but then you gotta like make it to where the first one has no inputs, the second one does. So whenever it moves to the next port, the only way that I saw that you can reset it is by doing that with the action recorder or a keyframe. And then it resets it back to that. Or you can somehow make it to where it moves to previous output and do that also. And you can combine this, and the AND gate to make a story mode like Telltale type game, Walking Dead story mode, Minecraft story mode type game. If you use an AND gate, just look up a main menu tutorial, then you'll understand what I'm saying. Dream's PS4 main menu tutorial combined with everything I'm saying here should get you all the knowledge you need on that. Here's the AND gate. And this should be how you do it. This is another way to do it. A more well-crafted way to do it. Should work every time. If there's something that you need explained in the comment section, just let me know. Trigger zone activates everything. You must press X in order for it to all work. No sound in the first one, just press X. Pop up. Put that wherever you need to put it. If you need to move it, just make it in scene. And that's pretty much it. That should be all you guys need to know about this. And the second one's the one that, has all the sound connected to it. Test currently animating, put that at the power button and you're good. I have it on once, sound, speed. Once is the most important thing. You could probably put it on other ones, but I did once. And you should be able to use all sound types for it. And that's pretty much it. Don't forget to subscribe, check out my channel playlist for individual tutorials on logic, sculpting, animation, music, and more. Peace out.